Last year, Miyoo released a handheld called the Miyoo Mini, a matchbox-sized device that actually won our Best Retro Handheld of the Year award. It was the perfect little handheld emulator for newcomers and handheld nerds. It was so in demand that stock would sell out in just a few minutes, meaning most newcomers couldn't get their hands on it unless they fell to their knees and purchased one from the many scalpers we see on eBay and other marketplaces. So Miyoo decided it would be a good idea to not focus on making more of them and instead make a new, bigger handheld with the same power. At first I thought, you know what, at least that means customers can buy something from them, right? Wrong. The Miyoo Mini Plus has been on sale for just a few weeks now, and I wanted to wait it out and see if they as a company have overcome this issue of not making enough. And it turns out it's happening all over again. Miyoo promised to make 20,000 Miyoo Mini Plus units at launch, but instead it was more like a couple of thousand, and as you can imagine, it sold out in just a couple of minutes. Just lovely. So this is going to be a review about a handheld that I love, that nobody can buy, and it's likely going to be hard to buy for the entire year. So before I jump into the review, I want to mention that we are releasing a premium coffee table book about the handhelds released between 1988 and 1995. It's our second book in the series and is currently crowdfunding with 50% of our goal already reached. It's 400 pages jam-packed with interviews with developers, passion pieces from the community, and a deep look into the Atari Lynx, the Sega Game Gear, and the Game Boy DMG. Check it out in the links below, you don't want to miss it. So I want to review this product as is, like I always do, straight out of the box. There are ways to upgrade the device with a new OS made by the community, but I don't think it's fair to review a product that needs altering by its community, even though the custom firmware and the custom OS by the community is just superb. And I also want to put aside the ridiculous issue of stock, as who knows, in just a few months they could surprise us, but I hardly doubt that. The Miyoo Mini Plus is a similar size to a deck of cards and comes packaged nicely in a slide-out box with a screen protector and some accessories. In hand, it's still a very light handheld, but takes up the whole of your palm, giving you much needed grip and the ability to play on it for hours on end, unlike its smaller brother. The Miyoo Mini features an ARM A7 1.2 GHz dual-core processor with 128 MB of RAM, a 3.5-inch IPS display with a resolution of 640 by 480, and a 3000 mAh battery. The internal specs are identical to the original Miyoo Mini, so you're not getting any kind of speed bumps with this device. It's all about the larger screen, better ergonomics, and slightly bigger battery life. The larger battery doesn't really add on much game time in all honesty. Due to the larger screen, I was seeing around 5 to 6 hours of gameplay on a single charge, which is pretty average these days, but it's enough to get you through a day of travel. Just like the Miyoo Mini, the screen takes up around half of the face, allowing for as much immersion as possible. The screen used, again like the Miyoo Mini, is bright. It features the perfect 4:3 aspect ratio for playing old games and features small bezels, giving it a modern, sleek look, which I really dig. It has a glass cover too, making it feel even more premium. Below your screen you will find your action buttons and D-pad alongside your start, select and menu button. The D-pad is honestly superb. It has nice direction, responds with nice feedback, and is a good size for a handheld of this nature. The action buttons sit high out of the shell, which I like, and feature a high gloss material with colouring inspiration from the SNES. I'm not a fan of these high gloss buttons only because they get a little slippery and sweaty at times, but that's just a personal preference of mine. At first, I didn't like where the menu button was sitting, but actually it's the best place for it, as it makes it quick and easy to save games, load games, change settings, or hop back out into the menu without having to turn or tilt your device to find it on the sides. On the top, you'll find an on and off button alongside LEDs that indicate charging. Your volume buttons are on the left hand side and nothing on the right. The bottom you'll find your 3.5mm headphone jack, an SD card slot and a USB-C port for charging. On the back you will find your battery pack, and it adds a thick bottom to the device which helps it in terms of comfortability and allows Miyoo to insert new shoulder buttons to the top that curve into the thin section behind the display. On my device it's impossible to open the battery door. It's on so tight and the flap is so thin that it will either cut my finger or I'll break a nail of some kind, so I've simply just given up to accessing the door at this point. Onto the shoulder buttons, I'm actually impressed. It seems Miyoo have listened to their customers and have made larger, far more comfortable shoulder buttons for this device. They are located perfectly on the back and are big enough for your fingers to rest on. The R2-L2 is slightly bigger and raised, giving your fingers more direction when playing fast-paced games. These shoulder buttons are hard to hate, and I am thankful that Miyoo changed them because it's another reason that many may want to grab the Plus version instead of the original. When you turn on the device, you'll be welcomed with a custom Linux OS running RetroArch that's, well, very average. I had no problems with my unit out of the box, but our news editor Anthony, who purchased one personally, had a lot of issues as soon as they powered it on, and it required a couple of hours tinkering to get it to a respectable state. So I just had to mention that because they could have tinkered with our unit knowing it was going into the hands of media for review purposes. This isn't uncommon actually. The simplicity of the OS can be easily understood by newcomers and veterans, but there's no enjoyment from using it. I guess it depends on who buys it, but for me, there's no sense that Miyoo took their time with this OS. It's simply just been dumped on here, probably because they know that the community will fix it for them for free. Moving on to performance, this is what I like to call a casual handheld. It's not got a lot of power, nor is it the most comfortable, but it's the handheld a lot of people will find they pick up the most thanks to its ease of use, great portability, and the fact that it comes preloaded with thousands and thousands of games. The spec stated allows this handheld to emulate most games up to and including PlayStation 1, which is really all you need from a device of this size. The 4x3 screen makes most retro games an absolute pleasure to play on, especially Game Boy Advance games. This is where it excels. The screen size alongside the lovely saturation and comfortable shoulder buttons makes it one of my favorite Game Boy Advance retro handhelds on the market at this moment in time. Your older consoles like NES, SNES, Mega Drive and Neo Geo work really well on here. While testing PlayStation 1 games, there was no real issue either, and it emulated those games very well, but that's where it stops. Anything more intensive like PSP and beyond will not work well on the Miyoo Mini Plus. With all that in mind, is the Miyoo Mini Plus worth the current $69? And I would say yes, even if it loses its charm. It's a well-made, reliable device that can fit in your pocket. The screen is lovely, performance up to PlayStation 1 is flawless, and the battery life is reasonable. But, and a big but, you can't bloody buy it. This is because Miyoo just aren't making enough. And when they do go on sale, there's scalpers and thousands of customers waiting to get their hands on one. So, until then, I actually recommend taking a look at the RG35XX instead. It's a very similar handheld in terms of design and performance, and it can be purchased instantly, even if the build quality isn't up to the standard of the Miyoo Mini Pluses. I'll leave the links below for both of them, and there you have it, a quick short review of the Miyoo Mini Plus. It's a superb handheld. It's just a shame nobody can buy one. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out our upcoming book, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.